beautiful people out there. Today is going to be my July reading wrap up. I didn't think I would actually do one of these because I thought I didn't read that much, but because of the booktubeathon, the reading rush, I did actually read a lot. So this is like the books that I read in July. Let's just get started because there's a lot of books here, a lot of short books, but still a lot of books to talk about. Enjoy! The first one I read is Bloodsong by Anthony Ryan. This is a high fantasy and it is so cool. You follow this main character called Valin, and he basically gets sent to this order, the Sixth Order, from his father. So his father basically abandons him, and his father is famous for being some sort of battle lord, and so he gets sent to the Sixth Order where he basically learns to be a member of the Sixth Order. They basically get trained in killing and that kind of thing. So it is about this character, and then you get to follow the first half of the book is him in the order, and that part where he like grows up and he builds this group of friends is absolutely amazing. Like, it's 5 stars plus. It's really brilliant. But then after that he graduates from the Sixth Order and loads of things start happening, and I got lost a little bit at that part, but I also was kind of going to a dance education at the same time, so I was kind of losing a little bit the track of actually like paying attention and consistently reading, so that might have been why. But I think I gave this 5 stars anyways, or 4 stars. It's really, really good. I don't understand why more people don't talk about this. Like, it's an amazing fantasy book and I highly recommend it. I have about the second book, so I'm going to continue with the series. I believe there's 4 books out so far. But yeah, I just can't believe more people aren't talking about this. It's amazing. Next, I finished How to Live Safely in a Science Fictional Universe by Charles Yu. This is a very special book. I picked it up on a whim of recommendations that are similar to The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So if you like that whimsy kind of sci-fi, then I highly recommend this. It took me a long time to get through it because I read the first 60 pages at one point and it was really slow and nothing was happening. And then I read all of the rest of it in the beginning of July, and it was so interesting. I don't know if I love this book or like kind of didn't enjoy it, but it's so strange because you're basically reading the book that the main character gives to himself so that he can then write it and give it to himself. So it's like a continuous loop. You don't really get to know that until further into the story, but it isn't really a spoiler. Like, the book isn't about the plot, but it's still really interesting. Oh my god, my battery. Fuck. So it's really like such a quirky book, and most of it is actually about the relationship he has with his father, and it discusses like time a lot, which I think is really interesting. I love sci-fi books about time, and I really liked it. And it's actually the back that interests me. It says, "My name is Charles Yu. I'm a time machine repairman. In 1 minute, I'm going to murder myself again," which is kind of like why I want to read this book, and I really liked it. And the author is Charles Yu. I'm wondering like how much this is based on his real life. I don't know. If you read this, like, tell me what you think about this book. It's so interesting. I really liked it. Next, I listened to the audiobook for Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton? I don't know. But I don't know. I found the science aspects of this very interesting. I mean, everyone knows the story, and I think that's kind of what ruined it because there's so much suspense. Like, there's so much action where they're like being hunted by dinosaurs in this island. You know the story, like, if you don't. I think I watched part of the Jurassic Park movie when I was younger and I was traumatized. So I have a huge fear of dinosaurs, and I was thinking that by reading this I would slowly conquer my fear, and in a way it has helped a lot because after this I watched the new Jurassic World movie and I really liked it, and I found that it has a lot of correlations with this one, and I could recognize some of the science names, like, or the scientists' names from the movie in this, like referencing to the previous movie. But I'm definitely going to watch the first Jurassic Park movies because I'm kind of like on that journey right now. But this was hard for me to read because obviously dinosaurs, but the kids in this, I heard Books with Emily say this, like the kids were so annoying, and honestly, like, kids are not like that. Like, I have a little brother that's 4, and there's a girl in the story she's so annoying, and they're being like hunted by dinosaurs, they're about to get killed, and then she's like, "I don't want to hide there, it's dirty," and you're like, what the fuck? Like, a kid would never be like that. They would be terrified and quiet in a situation where they're like in mortal danger. Like, I don't think that would happen at all. And so I found that kind of like problematic, and there was just so much action that it became like very repetitive. So I didn't really enjoy that about this book. I had some problems with it, but all in all, I'm glad I read it, but I only gave it 2 stars, and I'm not going to continue with the series. After that, I read Prince of Thorns by Mark Lawrence. What is there to say about this book? This is a fantasy book, a high fantasy, and it's the first book by Mark Lawrence. I read The Ancestor series, and I really enjoyed it, so I decided to pick this up. I knew from the beginning that this character was unlikable, and I actually enjoyed that aspect of it because you actually really, really hate the character. There's nothing about him that's redeemable or likable at all. You just want him to die. Like, he's just a terrible person. He's a rapist, he's a murderer, he's also 14 years old. Like, when I was reading this, I was like, there's no way this would happen to a 14-year-old. Like, obviously he has traumatic past that kind of explain why he is the way he is, but there's no way a 14-year-old would turn out like this. But it's also different worlds. I kind of get it. I gave it like 2 stars, maybe 3 stars. I don't remember. I didn't really enjoy it. It was kind of like a drag, and he has this writing style where I feel like I'm confused about what's happening at certain points, and I don't like being confused in a book where it's obvious you're not supposed to be confused, or I don't know if I'm supposed to be confused, and it was just kind of like, what is happening? The plot wasn't really consistent, but I don't know. I'm still going to give this the second book another chance. I found the second one at a secondhand shop, super cheap, so I decided to try it, and everyone says it's much better, so I'm gonna have faith in Mark Lawrence, so please prove yourself to be better than this. I think it was just also kind of too short, and the other books are bigger. I also just want to mention I kind of gave in and bought this version, but the mass market paperback that is smaller, the cover and the font is so much cooler. I like that one so much more, and it also fits the size of my other books of his like much better. So I'm so pissed that I didn't actually buy this, and it's cheaper as well. Like, I don't know why I didn't buy this copy. It pisses me off. After that, I read this little short story by Haruki Murakami. I kind of read like the short stories individually. This one's called Desire, and it's a new release, but none of these stories are new releases. Birthday Girl, which I've already read, is in this, so that was kind of like one I just skipped. But Murakami writes amazing short stories. I love his short stories. There's one here about a girl that he doesn't meet, but he imagines that if they met, this is kind of what he would say, and it's a really good one. He's really good at writing short stories. I really enjoyed it, but I bet that some of these short stories are in his other collections too, so if you read if you write all of his short story collections, there's probably not any new ones in this except Birthday Girl. I don't know, but I really enjoy it. I gave it 5 stars. Then before we jump into the reading rush, I read this one, which I kind of talked about during the reading rush because I finished it the first day of the reading rush. This one is The Refrigerator Monologues by Catherine M. Valente. I read Space Opera by her, which I really enjoyed. It's also kind of like a silly, yeah, it's a space opera. Like, it's a silly outer space story, kind of like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy vibe. And so I really want to read this. This is kind of a short story following the girlfriends of superheroes after they died. So this is taking place kind of in the afterworld where everyone is dead. They're telling about their stories with their boyfriends and how they died, and it's actually really interesting because it's kind of like, it's a very great story for like feminists or women empowerment to read. I really liked that, and it's like about how, I don't know, they all connect very nicely, and at the end these women just end up sitting at the table in the underworld. Like, obviously they're still dead, but you kind of get their stories. The characters are really different, which I really enjoyed. You can clearly tell like that the narration is different, which I really appreciate. So many authors like don't pay enough attention to that when there are different character perspectives, so that was amazing in this book. Then the reading rush started, and I'm gonna go over these like more quickly because I already kind of talked about it in my other videos. So if you want more vlog style or more reading updates, then you can go watch those videos. So this is The Strained Library by Haruki Murakami. This is also very short, and it has a very fun format where if you open it, you can open it like this, and then you read the story here, and it also has like pictures in it, and the font is super big. I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. I like all of his writing. I don't know, I'm just obsessed with him, so I gave it 5 stars. I liked it. It is such a strange story. It's like about this boy who wants to borrow a book, but then when he goes to borrow this book, he gets trapped in a cellar with this sheep man. You do with that what you will. Then I read The Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling. This is kind of actually short stories, and the first 3 has Mowgli in it, and it actually tells a story about the Jungle Book, and it's very similar. But then after that, it kind of goes on to tell other stories. One about a seal, I believe, and it's really tragic. It's actually about like seals getting killed, and then this one is trying to find new habitat for all his seal family. And then there's some other ones in there I've forgotten. I think I also gave this 2 stars. I didn't really enjoy it. I was kind of excited about the Jungle Book aspects, and the first 3 short stories were really good and I really liked them, but then they kind of like took off, so I don't know. It's like very mediocre. Then I read From the Wreck by Jane Rawson. I picked this up on a whim because I really liked the cover with the octopus, and this turned out to be one of my new favorite books. I love this book. I cried in the vlog because I was just like so emotional about it. This is so good, oh my god. And it's, I don't know, there's something about adult magical realism that just appeals to me so much. I think it's my favorite genre, even though I haven't read so many books like that. It's like kind of what Murakami does, and if you like Murakami, I think you'll like this one too. This one kind of follows one perspective of a beast or someone who lives under the ocean, and when this guy gets shipwrecked, they kind of get attached somehow, and then you get to follow the perspective of this man when he comes home, his family, he has a kid, and this thing that's kind of like a jellyfish, not a jellyfish, an octopus, but then you get like how you get more and more information as you go along. And I don't want to spoil too much because I didn't know anything about the story when I started it, but what's really cool is about the author is actually telling it like a story from way back. I think it's like her great grandma is this daughter of this main character who was shipwrecked, kind of like that. So she based her story on real life, but all the magical realism are of course magical realism. But I just really enjoyed her writing. I can't really pinpoint what about it that it's so good, but I don't know, it's just captured this feeling of loneliness like superbly, and I love that. So it just made me feel a lot, and emotions I can't really describe, which is like the best thing about books. Oh, and also fun thing, I wrote to the author about like how much I love the book, which was the first thing, and she replied like saying like, oh, I'm so happy like you took the time to write to me and say I like how much you love the book and stuff, and that was really fun. So do that if you like a book. And then I read this one. This is a quick and easy guide to queer and trans identities by Maddie G and I will say Dr. Zuckerberg because I don't know why, that just sounds good. J.R. Zuckerberg, and this is basically like an educational story, but it's written in comic form, and it's basically like a snail telling you or educating you about queer and trans identities, and I learned so much from this. I really enjoyed it. It's so cute, and I think everyone should read it. It's basically just focuses on a few colors, but it also has like some blue ones. It's really interesting. I really like it. I recommend you pick this up. Then I read Supernatural Separation Father by Autumn Littles. This was a book that was sent to me for review, and it was the first one that ever contacted me, so I said yes. This is kind of like a supernatural story about this girl who loses her parents very young, and then because her mom turns into a vampire and her dad turns into a werewolf and they can't be together and they just leave her. So the story goes off from there. I didn't really enjoy this that much. It felt like it needed a lot of work to get where it wanted to go. Like it just needed more editing and bigger because it's very short, so it never really gives you a chance to get into the story. And even though this is so short, it took me a long time to actually like get into the story, and there was a lot of spelling mistakes and such, but that is how it is sometimes. But all in all, I think I gave it 2 stars. Then I read this one. This is the Shades of Magic comic, Volume 1 by Victoria Schwab, The Steel Prince. So this follows the father, or the king, of Red London in the Darkest Shade of Magic trilogy, and I didn't know that when I got into this, which I wish I did know when I got into this, which is kind of unfortunate, but I did really like it, and I think I gave it like 3 stars, so it wasn't like an amazing book, and it wasn't especially memorable, but I'm really excited she made this, and I'm really excited to continue with these comics. I felt like the story kind of ended abruptly, but the art style is very like typical art style, and I kind of like that, so Next ones, I'm just going to talk about them together, even though I didn't read them together. So here we have Adventure Time Comic Volume 1 and 2. I did enjoy the second one more, but because it has like, the first episode of Adventure Time has a cameo in this comic, and I was like, mind blown. So I really enjoyed this. Adventure Time is my favorite series, and I'm currently planning my Adventure Time tattoo. So I'm really excited about reading these now. I don't know how many are in these comics, but I highly recommend them. I really enjoyed it. It's not as good as the series because it explains much more than is necessary. Like, there could have been less text and like the story could have been shorter, but it's also because it's kind of like child oriented more than the TV show is, but I still really enjoyed it. Then 2 more books. This one is Wilder Girls by Rory Power. This is a debut new YA dystopian. So basically it's about these girls who live on an island where there's this disease or virus or fungus or something that has spread to all the people living there. They just know that it is only in the island, or it's been centered around the island, and it isn't like happening outside. It's just them, and basically it makes the people there distort the food and everything there. They can't grow anything. The animals have gone like savage, and people are starting to grow like extra spines. The main character only has one eye, and it's just like really gory and gross in a way, and there's just all these things happening, and basically it's just all these girls that are going to the summer school kind of. I think I gave this book like 3 stars. I mean, I liked it. I thought it was good, but it wasn't like overwhelmingly great. It was like a good debut novel, and I will definitely continue with the series if there's more. It's kind of hinting that there's more because the ending was kind of a cliffhanger, so I hope there is more. So I liked it. It was fine. It was fun to read something new that everyone else was reading as well. And lastly, I read the first 3 manga in the Death Note series. I don't have the third one now because I left it back home in Sweden. But yeah, I am loving these so much. I gave the first one 4 stars because I was still like getting into it. And then I read the second and third one 5 stars. I'm so obsessed with manga. I've like bought so much manga after this when I'm getting into it. And I don't know if this happens to anyone else, but I'm like getting confused in a normal book which way I should read, or if I'm reading comics, like I get confused which way I should read. I don't know, that's so dumb. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I don't know if I'm kind of rooting for the main character because he's like basically getting this notebook from a demon where every name he writes gets killed if he knows the name and the face of the person, and then all of these like scheming is going on. He's so clever, it's like insane. And then it's also about kind of like the police and this secret agent called L basically trying to catch him, and he's trying to catch L, and like loads of things start to happen. I read the 4th and the 5th one now, but I'll talk more about that in the next month wrap up. I just enjoy these so much. I highly recommend it. It was like the perfect manga to start with to get into manga because they're so addictive and engaging. I love it so much, like I can't stop reading them. Like it's actually insane. So those are all the books I read this month. I hope you guys enjoyed like this little wrap up. I'm sorry I'm a little bit rushed. I'm in a bit of a hurry. I hope you guys have a brilliant day. Enjoy your reading. Tell me what you read down below. And if you loved any of them, I hope you guys have a great day. Stay magical, guys. Bye.